Today on Before the Dust Settles, I'm really excited to say that we have Andrew Machnee on. Andrew Machnee is a developer. He's an ultramarathon runner. He's a father of 4.
Almost.
3.5, and an all-around great guy. I thought our conversation was really insightful, enjoyable.
Stay tuned as we talk about all those things and the Kansas City Shuffle.
Yeah, enjoy. Andrew, thank you so much for coming. You and I have known each other basically our whole lives, and I really admire the company that you've built and the work that you do, and I thought you'd be a great fit for what we're doing here. And I know that you've met Matt once before.
Yeah,
We talked about
subcontractors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andrew's a home builder. Tell us a little bit about what you do. Like, what is your day job? You're not just you're a builder, right?
Yeah. I'm an infill only builder. So I've got
In Saskatoon.
in Saskatoon, yeah, in the older neighborhoods. So I just
Where's your stomping grounds? Like Buena Vista, Nutana?
yeah, there and surrounding areas, Haltane, and I have a bunch just finished in exhibition area. I've done North Park and Caswell areas, Mayfair. So lots of different markets of people.
And you've been building for a few years now already.
Well, I've been in construction for just over 10 years now, but I've been doing infills alone for 4 or 5 now.
Right. So you started doing this at like 25, 26 years old, building houses on your own.
Yeah, well, I flipped my first house when I was 19. This is back in, I think, 08 or something. You know, when the boom was just happening, and so.
What neighborhood was that in?
In City Park.
And you just happen to have
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you the address because, not that it's bad, but.
You just happen to have the skills. At
Well,
age
I
19.
grew up, you know, my dad has been in construction his whole life, so we kind of just naturally we won all the IA awards and stuff like that, and it was just kind of like the natural step that, you know, well, I guess I'll just do what I already know.
So I used to always go out to the farm that Andrew grew up on when we were young, and his dad had a whole woodworking shop. Your dad's a carpenter by trade, and so we would go in there and build little like handheld machine guns and different things like that. But you were in front of a lathe at a young age. You were doing that stuff like probably like, I don't know, like we were probably 10, 12.
Yeah, like my dad's a Finnish carpenter, or like builds kitchens and stuff, cabinets. And actually all my other siblings have been drawn towards that angle of work, but right out of high school, I started framing for 2 years. And that kind of, actually, well, I started framing and tree planting in the summers. And the tree planting kind of formed the work ethic. Not that framing didn't have the work ethic, but it kind of made, you got paid per tree. So the whole job is based around, you know, okay, you're just going to produce at max level.
And are you built for that kind of work? Like, you thrive with incentives like that?
Well, I planted the most in the company on my second year of about 400 planters, a lot of them 6-year planters. And so.
How many trees is that?
That year was 200,000 trees or so. Yeah.
How many?
Not to pump my own, you know, tires about.
That's what this show is here
Anyway, but
I wouldn't say I'm that great, but just like in year 2, I was the best.
Yeah.
400.
No.
So like what? Like how many trees an hour are you planting then?
Well, that'd be usually 3,000 a day. So
I don't want to do the math. Just do it for me.
Yeah.
Per hour.
Per hour?
Or how long were your days?
Well, it depends. Like some days you're walking into your piece of land for 45 minutes, or so you aren't even making money till who knows what time in the day, and then you basically finally get there, and you know your piece of land's only so big, so you try to, it's kind of just this, it's a race against the clock all day, like, and if you have the right mindset and you're that type of person, it's like, oh, I might be able to get another box in.
Which you are.
I'll bet you I can get 5 boxes before lunch.
So are there structured like start and stop times for that sort of work?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm part of a crew. There's
Okay.
12 people on my crew, and they all need trees, and so.
So they'll pull you guys out together. You
Yeah,
guys work, what,
in a
12-hour days, or?
Yeah, I worked with another guy usually. Yeah, but no, it wasn't. Rarely would it be that long, but 10-hour days. But again, it would vary on. Sometimes we're helicoptering into land or whatever. But
Are you guys sleeping in tents, or?
first year I did, and then I brought a trailer the second year, and it paid off. So anyway,
What do you mean paid off?
well, I got good sleep.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, my $1,000 trailer. It was actually
The chick magnet.
Yeah.
So your whole, like, all of your siblings were kind of into carpentry and woodworking and stuff like that, and you have such a good story. Like your brother's, like, what he's doing the finish. Can you tell us a little bit, like, your brother's just got a really interesting story about, like, the work that he's doing right now?
Yeah, my older brother Terry's working on the biggest house in Saskatoon, and I think it's like a $20 million house, roughly, for some billionaire that's living in Saskatoon for some unknown reason. But anyway, he's been working there for 3 years now, and just building, like, the craziest modern things that you can't really comprehend, even, just.
So it's still not done?
No, it's long.
Well,
Well, he dug up his whole driveway and put a theater underneath his driveway, a completely enclosed underground.
Are some of these ideas or decisions being made, like, way too late in the game, where there's a lot of backtracking that needs to be done, but because money isn't an issue?
Yeah, it's not his. He had a bad. I shouldn't say, but the guy who was running the project wasn't doing a very good job making it efficient. So, I mean, I wouldn't blame it all on the owner for the way that project's going. But anyway, like, our whole family's kind of been in construction. I'm the only one that's drawn towards the development side of things, though.
You have a lot of siblings?
Six kids in our family. So
Where do you fit in there?
I'm the second youngest.
So now you're a home builder and you're doing mostly infills. I would say, though, from the outside looking in, I would say that the industry has changed quite a bit over the past decade. Can you tell me about, like, your decision to be in infills, and was that always the idea, or have you sort of migrated in that direction?
Yeah, I was thinking about this this week a little bit, and thinking, actually, it brought up seeing different, at least in my industry, different phases of building or business that kind of come and then you watch them go. Like, for a period of time, everybody's doing that thing, and it's.
So give us an example.
So there was an era 5-10 years ago where everyone was building these super luxury duplexes. Okay, they were $600,000-$700,000 a side, and the guys at the start, they got on it, and there was some market there, so they sold, and then they made good money. But then what happens at the end of those phases is there's a lot of cattle that follow behind, and they're just followers. They just, one guy's making money, so 10 other guys are like, I'm going to do the exact same thing he's doing. And so that kind of whole phase of building just dies out. That's what happens sort of in, like, a block of time, if that makes sense.
Well, and I've seen those kind of duplexes sit.
They still are
They're
today.
typically infills.
Yeah. It was the early stage of infill. And then it kind of spawned my business out of that, because I saw what was going on with it. And my dad actually built one. He was one of the cattle at the end. And he got out, luckily, but there's some guys today, years later, are still caught. They can't get out. But I went after being in that experience, and I built some more luxury acreages and stuff. My life just kind of took a different turn, and I thought, why not, why are we building these crazy things that no one can afford? And, why is no one doing this, making like quality, affordable units for the average person? And I guess, as an entrepreneur, any entrepreneur, you're always looking for what the market doesn't have already, right? I don't want to follow what everyone else is doing. You're always trying to think of like, okay, where is everyone else missing the mark? And I'm not saying like I was the only infill builder, but in the early days, there wasn't very many of us that were doing this particular sort of, the zoning regulations had just changed where you were allowed to build single houses on these narrow lots in the core neighborhoods. Prior to that, you could only build duplexes. So there was only a few of us that were on this.
So even though there was an existing single family home, you had to have two side by side, demolish them, and build a duplex.
You had to do a duplex.
And so is that why it was duplexes?
A lot of it, yeah. That's why it was. Some areas are still like that you have to build duplexes, but they made this change, and there's a few people that jumped on board with these not small, but like more moderately priced single family, not attached units. Okay.
So what are the ranges here? Like, what's the narrowest house you've built, and like what's the widest house that you can build on one of these narrow lots?
I've only ever built one width. It's 18 and a half feet. You can build 20 feet, but...
So that's no windows on either side at 20 feet?
No, that's windows on one side.
At 20 feet?
At 20 feet, there's no windows on either side.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
18 and a half is windows on one side.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah.
And what's like the biggest house that you can put on a 25-foot wide?
Oh, it's
like
you can build a large house, long, but I mean, it's a balancing act between, losing all your yard space, which is,
right.
But,
so like when you're like you said, like you're trying to build houses for like regular people.
yeah.
In infill neighborhoods, so they're new houses in infill or like sometimes more core neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So like what amenities do you find work well in these types of builds?
What do you mean?
Like, do they need a 2-car garage? Are they looking,
No,
like,
my whole model, and it kind of just started off cost and time efficiency being the core of my business model, where back to my tree planting days, I was used to being in a position where I had to produce quickly, and tree planting I had to produce a good product, or else the checker would come back and tell me, go replant all my trees. So anyway, they kind of like, this was the next version of that, basically. So I'm fast just by nature. That helps the business model because that means I can put more units out. My margins can, I don't have to, if I spend one full year on a house or 4 months, well, I don't need to make as much money on 4 months as a whole year, right?
Because then you could build 3 in the year.
Yeah. So I started and I sold just, aggressive price was the key ingredient of, half affordable price, and didn't have all the bells and whistles, but it had upgrades better than, lots of the junk that was out there. Custom features. And I just started going with that, and the units are just pre-selling and right out the gates, and 2 turned into 4 right away, and then 4 turned into, 4 with 4 more right behind it. And here we are 30 to 40 units later here today. And virtually all the units were pre-sold during that period. So that means there's buyers just waiting to get in on this product. So
if turnover is sort of the key and speed is part of that process, where do you bottleneck? Is acquiring the right lots?
It is. The bottleneck is it's a plus and a negative. The fact that there's not as much land made this market virtually out of reach for larger builders. They don't want to pull down a house and build 2 houses. That's too small for them. but it allowed me to get really good at just doing little batches of houses like this, and no one was able to move in on my market till now, of course, where I could get into what's happened within the last 6 months in the market. We're seeing the end of what happened in the previous cycle with the luxury duplexes. Now everyone's jumped on board, and everyone's land prices have gone up, and house prices have come down for infills, and it's sort of it's changing just looking back in history, I'm just seeing the cycle complete, and it's interesting to sit back and not that I'm going to stop building infills and that they're not going to be of any value, but it's going to be a tighter and tighter market until that's.
Do you have any inklings on what's coming next? Just you were on the front end of this trend.
Yeah.
I don't know, like our building here, there's a parking lot across the street, and it has like a mini home in the parking lot. I don't know what it is. Like, what is it, like 8 feet or something like that by like 16 feet? Like, it's tiny.
Yeah. Well, you know about my tiny house project, obviously.
Tell us about it.
So,
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
So,
well, I will enlighten you. So I built the city's first permanent site tiny house. It was 227 square feet. So the outside dimensions were 12 by 20 feet long. So, the size of master bedroom maybe.
Where do you put that?
It's over in Caswell, just right by Ashworth Homes Park. And
what makes it permanent?
It's on a fixed foundation.
Okay.
Yeah,
with a crawl space or a basement? Or
a crawl space. It's hooked up to city services though.
Okay, that's what makes...
It's hooked up to city water, city sewer. This is like a regular house except small. So the difference is the trailer ones, there's a parking problem with them. They don't have water source. They don't have plumbing source. So I use this tiny house as a model. And I was trying to get the city to push them towards, bending the rules, maybe starting to think about why we can't build more compact units. Again, because my mind is pushed towards affordable living for people.
Yeah.
Why can't people with less money live on the riverbank? Why can't that be an option? It can be, but not under the current rules. So I was trying to use this tiny house as a model, and I was trying to push them, but it didn't really work. So
what's the pushback?
It's too forward. Like on the West Coast, they're doing this all over the place already, but it's too, I don't know, it's too out there for them to wrap their minds around. Not to say it's the best way to, create affordable housing that's still, it's your own little house. It's not a tiny apartment. Not that that has. There's a place for that too, a multi-unit building, but it was just another angle on offering something that doesn't exist already.
So what size lot is the tiny house on in Caswell?
It's on a regular lot, so it just looks like Lost on just a regular lot. Well, it's not a lot bigger than where we're sitting right here, the whole house.
Wow. So what does that cost?
I think it cost me $20,000 to build or something.
Wow.
But then the lot.
Yeah, the land. See, my whole angle on it was I was trying to show them I could fit
4.
Yeah, well, easily on that lot I could have put 4, with every unit having its own yard, its own parking spot, its own little garden. But it's too far. They can't. It's hard to make that kind of thing work.
Can you in theory, can you make the utility lines work for 4 mini houses?
Oh yeah, but I'll even give you an example of. I just bought a bunch of land in Spadina here a few weeks ago, and I thought, oh man, what a perfect spot to build some sort of multi-unit townhouse row that the units are narrower, but they're still large. Everyone gets a river view, and you can offer it affordable, $300,000 for someone, or just around. What a crazy thing you could give to people. But I didn't have to get far down that road to see that it was just going to be the hugest nightmare on earth with the city. And they're not ready to take the steps, which is hard for me to understand, because they stand to gain by massive amounts of tax dollars. Like one large development like that, they're going to bring in 10 times the tax revenue on a property they're already servicing anyway.
So what's the holdback in your mind? Like why? Like what is it? Like why would it? I guess why would a city on the West Coast be okay with it and we're not? But it almost sounds like the way you're talking about, we're just not there yet. Like if we're gonna get there anyway, why not now?
Here's the problem. And if you've watched, whether it's these towers and they're building by the university or everybody has an opinion now. Everybody's got an opinion that needs to be heard, and there's some merit to that, but council's not able to look at the greater good here. They're not able to look at, they're building a big condo building off Broadway and one right by the university. And those projects almost didn't happen. Took years of planning, working with the public, trying to get it off the ground. But if all they did is pick the greater good, where it's like, okay, well, yeah, I realize these people have houses by this project, right? And they don't want a big development by their house. And I get that, I probably wouldn't want that either. But there's a greater good here, think if I could put, 20 families living riverfront for affordable price, and the city's going to earn a bunch of tax dollars. Well, yeah, I know the neighbor, it's not going to be the greatest situation for him, but if everybody has their say and everyone's opinion matters most, well, then nothing's ever going to happen. And that's why a lot of bigger infill builders, like guys doing condos, they're saying it's not worth trying anymore. It's just such a nightmare. So this kind of social, I don't know.
Politic game?
Yeah. It's going to create more problems in the future because the world's shifting more towards that. Not that some of that's not important, but I think there's lines that. Anyway, yeah, I could blab on about that for.
That's what this is for.
Yeah.
No, I'm very curious because I find we were talking with I was talking to someone today about marijuana. He uses it for his illness, and it's legal now, and it wasn't before, and it's okay, nothing in my life has changed. And it's just okay, if it can be legal now, it should have been legal for a long time. And even alcohol was there's prohibition here, and it's if things are just going to go that way,
I think
if you're just going to change these policies anyway, just
yeah,
what's the long? I feel there's just long game where let's say zoning and stuff. It's we talked with the guy last week about just making a world where at least the core build dense.
Yeah,
people don't need cars. Literally,
all the businesses thrive that are in the areas.
Build places that don't have parking lots, and if you need a car, then you don't live there.
Exactly.
Start.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like urban sprawl has become such an issue in many developed Western cities.
Yep.
And
we have a chance.
So you're thinking it's city councilors being okay with the pushback of some people for the greater good of the community and for the city at large?
Well, they're just taking that into account. The fact that I can walk in to the city with 100-foot frontage Spadina lot, a giant piece of land. I could build a 8-unit townhouse row with a back row of units as well for even a more affordable price. But I can just see there's no interest in, Then I went down. Okay, well, can I at least put garden suites behind here? Even that, it's just such a stretch for them to imagine. They approved those garden suites, but they never wanted to see any built. I think there's been 7 built.
What's a garden suite?
A garage suite, garden suite, the The suite's in your backyard.
Okay. So just like above a garage.
Yeah, like I mean, other cities are so far ahead. Saskatoon lags behind because everyone's worried about everyone's feelings. So, like, they shouldn't have even approved it because.
Is it almost frustrating to you that?
I built, when I built my house like 4 years ago, they were just releasing this garden suite stuff. So I ran a sewer line to my backyard. I was ready to go because I was building a new house anyway. It was easy for me to just run another sewer line. And even though I had it all ready to go back there, it still wasn't even worth pursuing because the regulations are stricter on a building smaller than a garage. They're stricter for that than they are for a 10,000 foot building in Greenbrier. You have to have drainage plans and like all these weird things that they leave it open for 6 to 10 weeks for the public to put their input on a garage suite. This building is like a shed.
That's crazy.
6 to 10 weeks. It's like, well, as a builder, I can't work on those parameters. Like I need to know going forward. Tell me what I need to do, and I'll work around those. But
right, they're trying to kill this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's legal suites, and then there's basement suites, and it's like, can you just build a garage suite without it being legal?
Yeah.
Or is it different than when it's inside the house? Like everybody, most people who live in a basement suite that I know, it's not a legal suite.
Yeah, well, 90% of them aren't.
So, like, let's say with like the lane or the back alley or garden suite, like, is that something you can just go ahead and build, or is that different?
No, well, it's like the basement suites. If the 90% of illegal basement suites in the city, if someone complains, they have to go in there and, make them change stuff. But hopefully, no one complains. City doesn't want to look at all the illegal suites. But a garage suite going up, people would. Anyway, it's just the point here is, as a developer, I would like to push for new ideas. I want to, it's not even for money. Like, it's not like I can build single houses still, like on the Spadina lot. I'm going to build 4 houses there and they're all going to sell. I know that for sure. So, that's fine. I want to do something new, like something that no one's done before. The shift, Curtis Olson, he's already been doing this for a long time, but he waits for years and years trying to get these developments passed. And it shouldn't be that way. It should just be like, more standard ways of moving forward with reasonable developments, Not asking for a lot, I don't think, but anyway.
Well, I guess like one of the things that I love about Andrew is that he's juggling a million things in his life. Andrew, you're married. How many kids do you have?
4th on the way.
4th on the way.
Is that new since I last saw you?
I think so, yeah.
Congratulations, man.
And you're how old?
31.
Okay.
You're also a runner, and you make time for your family. You guys go on some pretty cool holidays, family holidays.
Yeah.
Schedule and routine must be important to you.
Yeah.
How do you do it, man? When do you get up? When does your day start?
I get up when William stumbles into my room, usually at sunup.
So winter's okay.
Yeah, but even still, no, it's 6. It's nothing crazy. Like a lot of people get up early.
Do you even set an alarm anymore?
No.
Yeah.
And you run most days.
Yeah. Right now it's 6 days a week. Yeah.
Did you run today already?
I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah, you were telling me like you're training for like an ultramarathon or something.
Yeah, I am.
What is that? What distance is that?
It's 50 kilometers, and this one's it's a trail ultra race. So, in addition to being the length, it's on most of it's on animal trail, narrow animal trail, and there's 7,500 feet of elevation gain.
So where are you doing that?
What's that?
Where are you doing that?
It's in Sask Landing. It's called the Beaver Flat 50. So
it just sounds incredibly boring. The scenery, I don't know. Is that nice? Is that a nice area? Like,
it'll be nice. I'm not sure if I'll be able to enjoy it.
I assume that's the only way you get elevations, going up, then down, then back up.
Yeah, back up and down the riverbank. Yeah, till you're dead.
Yeah. So how, like, what are you hoping for time? Like, you're training right now?
I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, the whole reason I'm drawn to this whole ultra running thing, which is, it's turning into a bigger thing in the world now, because, and maybe I'll just kind of go into why this is important to me, but
do it.
It's kind of, the world now is, no one experiences pain basically most of their life. Our life is so comfortable. Everything's done for us. We just basically sit around and, think about stuff, or like, we don't really, life is easy, right? 100 years ago, you could expect a bunch of your kids to probably die, in some disease, and
because we have vaccinations now.
Yes, exactly. No, that is, but anyway.
I vaccinate my children. Do you vaccinate your children?
Yes.
Okay.
If I had kids, I would also vaccinate. So.
Okay, good.
We're
pro-vaccination. The show is pro-vaccination.
Like, history proves vaccinations are great because it's a great way to actually love your children, right?
Well, if people don't vaccinate, they better hope to God that everyone else is vaccinating. So it's a pretty selfish move, but I won't get into that. Yeah. Anyway,
that's another. We should do that as like a topic though. Just like get some anti-vaxxer.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Have you read science books and stuff? Have you seen like world history?
Look, you know what? I do my own research. You probably just let other people tell you, and you just believe everything.
Autism.
You hear.
Okay, that's been proven wrong for like a decade almost. Autism.
Not in this one.
So you've got a good thought going here.
No suffering.
Right. Yeah. So I actually took a video because I thought I was going to talk about this a little bit. I was in the rented store getting some insulated tarps or something. Anyway, they have this lawnmower. It's like a Zumba now for your lawn. So, the Zumba that just vacuums for you.
Roomba.
There you go. Yeah.
Zumba's like a.
Yeah, that's the
cardio.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's all about pain.
Yeah. For sure.
You work for that.
So now they got this lawnmower. It just does its thing. Like, it just mows for you. You don't have to do anything. So, anyway, the world just continually doesn't have. When people immigrated here, went through hell, they had pain in their life. They had challenges that they had to overcome just living. Well, we don't really have those. They don't have the same scale of challenges.
Adversity, would you even?
Yeah. So a lot of people they're trying to find it, because I think it's somewhat in our human nature to find out where's my potential. I'm not challenged and put in these situations where I feel pain, but how do you overcome that, and how do you beat it? How do you so
plant more boxes of trees than 400 people.
But along those same lines. But people ask me like, oh, why don't you just do a 20K? Why does it have to be 50? That's stupid, right? It is kind of stupid. But the draw for me is not 0 to 30K, because I could probably leave here today and go run a half marathon if I needed to. So that's not that's not going to put me in a position of not knowing what's going to happen. I know I'll finish it, or even up to 30K. I know it's going to be painful a little bit. I know it's going to be hard. It's that area from 30 to 50 where, for me, and for another person, it might be that area from 5 to 10K. That they don't know what's going to happen, I don't know. As much as I train, I don't know if I'm going to make it through. And that's the draw for me. It's like, will your mind be strong enough to drag you through that time when your body's beat up and everything's telling you can't continue this, you're an idiot? Well, your mind, it might be strong enough to take you to the end, and for other people, it's 100-mile races where they're doing 160K. That's a standard ultra distance. So it's kind of every person would have a different spot. But for me, it's like I can't get to the 30 to 50 unless I do the first 30 first. And then I'm in a horrible position where I'm dead tired and, I've already been out there for 5 hours and, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, this isn't like a road 50K.
It's a trail. 50.
Hills, trails, like the effort exertion is...
Yeah, it'd be a lot higher. I've run a road marathon before. So no, it was hard. It was really hard. I
took everything
fell
you
down
had
and
to get it under 3 hours or what?
No, it was actually my very first race I ever did. And it was like,
okay, you guys ready? First race marathon time was
4:39. But
solid.
That's good. I was actually expecting you to blow my mind. I was like, 380 or 350.
Anything under 4 hours.
But then now recently, like last year, I ran a whole bunch of races of, half marathons and stuff, and now I'm just fighting for time. Like, I placed third in a race last fall, but it's not the same like fight against myself.
Like you would rather fight yourself than.
Well, it sounds like it's a mental exercise.
Yeah, it's not to say it's not a mental exercise at the shorter distance because I'm fighting for time, right? I want to get third place out of 100 runners. Well,
but there's a bit of a gray area here. Like you were saying a second ago, like you're not totally convinced. You've picked a distance where there's a little bit of uncertainty as to whether or not this is actually going to happen.
Yeah. Exactly.
You come across to me as the kind of guy, you play everything a little modest. Like I'm sure you are 99% confident you'd finish.
No, I'm not.
Or you actually gap?
Well, just because.
Like even at 90%, that's still like 1 out of 10 chance.
Yeah, like if I didn't have a, 60-70% chance thinking that I think I can complete it, then I wouldn't be trying it. But I'm doing it because I don't know. Like I don't know after 30K and running, 5,000 feet up and down these hills, I might be just destroyed and I don't know. I might be just hobbling. I've watched these videos, these ultra runners like having to run backwards the last, they're crawling, they're just, nothing will stop them. They don't care about, and anyway, that's the inspiring part.
So here's a question kind of maybe just about you and your personality. Like you kind of mentioned like everybody's that pain point or that perception of like stretching their spirit or whatever. Do you think once you do that though, you will then be, it's like maybe a check.
Are you saying a new baseline even?
Yeah, is it checking a box and maybe then you've done that and you will then, do you think you'll seek, knowing yourself, will you seek a new challenge that challenges you further?
60.
It could be. I don't know that yet, but
or in worse weather or whatever it is. Like
yeah,
you've been trending that way, right?
Yeah. No, like I could see myself going that way. Not all the time. Like I'm not just going to do this, but I think it's a healthy exercise for anyone to push themselves, especially for like people in business. I mean, we're already doing it in business, right?
I think there's a bit of a difference at times because the only person that you're putting at risk right now when you do this is you. And I think, you have a family, like we all have businesses and there's other people that we have to look after and, you can't, I don't know, like there's always going to be risk in business. It's calculated risk. But you're really pushing yourself to the point, like you said, where it's like you might break.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a good chance that, like, at least with my business, I probably wouldn't take a risk that I wasn't relatively certain.
That's true.
And I would also usually hedge my bet.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, like the cost of failure in business is...
Well, it's not like I'm going to die out on the trail.
You're right,
but,
you're right.
I might get injured.
It's a test of...
I don't know that for sure. Like, there's a risk there.
Yeah.
But I just think it's ingrained in our human nature to find out where our limit is. And we just people used to be challenged by that naturally, and we just aren't anymore. We're not challenged.
Who inspires you? Like who's embraced that human spirit and shown it in some really unique way? Like that climber guy that just did the free solo. What's his name? You know who I'm talking about? Like there's a movie that's out about a guy that climbed El Capitan without a rope, or like guys, just with his hands and feet, and he just climbed the whole thing.
If he falls, he's dead.
Yeah. Like it's like a 4.5 hour climb. He's the only person that's ever done it. I watched it in theaters, and it was just the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And again, it's like what you just mentioned. We talked to a guy last week who was telling us about a guy that he knows in town named Steve Whittington, and he was invited to go climb with a father-son team to climb like K2 or something.
Yeah, it was K2.
And he was saying...
Because they just did Everest.
Yes.
Right? Together?
I don't know if he'd went with them, but they were saying that K2 had like a 1 in 4 mortality rate. And unfortunately, this father-son team ended up doing it without him, and they passed away on the climb. But it's just like, this stuff is like, you know, these are people that are like kind of like you're doing, but like an even more amped up version of it.
Oh, I know. And a lot of times I'm even thinking like, oh, this 50K to some people sounds like, whoa, it's crazy. Well, it is to a degree. It's not when you put it up against like what people are really doing out there. Guys are running 500K races in February in the Yukon in -45, and they're almost dying out there, like frozen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can stroll 50K like up a couple of hills. You know, it depends on which way you look at it.
But yeah,
these guys are risking their lives.
Yeah, there's something to be said about all that, like about how far you can actually push the human body. I've got a buddy who's like training this Wim Hof. There's some guy named Wim Hof. And I don't know where he's from, but like Iceland or something. And he's the guy that broke a bunch of records for holding his breath for a really long time and spending a bunch of time in like frigid ice cold water and like all this different stuff. And so my buddy's like doing this different like there's like mind exercises basically, and it's the same. I think it's a lot of the same things that motivate him to do that are the things that are motivating you to do this run. And he's literally trying to train his body to be able to reset what his body feels as being like extreme weather, extreme conditions, and even with like holding his breath, like he's just trying to deprive himself of basic things and to reset like what his body needs.
Yeah.
This whole conversation is interesting because I feel like there isn't, like, not everybody's like you or them. Like, I feel like a lot of people live like scared to ever do those sort of things. I don't know.
And to some people, it's like, that's what like inspires them to live almost in a sense. You know, it's like, that's like what they're so drawn towards to find out. It's like the modern day explorer.
Well, even guys who are sports fans.
I think when we were out for beers that one night, I brought that up. It's like, that's what ultra running is now. It's like the modern, every place has been explored now. So now the only thing to explore is how far can the human body go, or the brain? Like, how far can we let it go without quitting? So now explorers, they're doing that. They're doing these like, oh, there's such crazy ones going on now. Guys are doing like these trail races, 3,000 kilometers, trying to do it in 45 days, where they're running 100 kilometers per day. Consecutively every day. You know, they aren't running full speed, but like 45 days in a row.
It's a lot of chafing that happens.
Exactly.
A lot of Vaseline.
But this kind of like crazy stuff, you know, people are pushing the limits all over the place. There's this lady that won the crazy 200K race I was reading about in Europe somewhere. She had a baby a month before the race, and she was breastfeeding during her run or something. Like, she would stop and breastfeed, and she like killed the record like crazy. And it was like, really? Like, you just had a baby, and like, what? How are you beating all the men? Like, oh, crazy to think how far someone's mind can take them, you know? But
yeah.
Anyway, so that's my
You got some pretty lofty goals there. Like, what are your work goals? Like, what do you got going on as far as like what you're trying to accomplish with your job?
Yeah, well,
Company.
you know, as I talked about, you know, things maybe the market shifting. Not that I'm going to get out of infill building completely, because, you know, it's where things started for me, but thinking about getting into new areas, it's exciting, you know, like think, oh, this might not be the only thing, you know, maybe there's something new that I haven't experienced yet. And, you know, it's exciting thinking about things that haven't happened yet, or like everybody does it a certain way and you thought, well, why can't it be this way instead? You know, how come no one's doing this? You know, and we all have exciting jobs that way. We're able to kind of just dream, and then I wonder if we could do that. You know.
When you say we all, you're talking about us, though.
Oh, you guys do, yeah.
Like, not everybody has that.
Well, I'm talking to entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah.
You know, just they have that. Like for example, I'll go back to my Spadina project. Not that it's a pitch for people to buy it, but.
Where can they find your design plans for? No, I'm just kidding. We can do it. We'll do that at the end, though.
Yeah. So I'm building these 4 riverfront homes, and right out the gates, everyone's like, "Oh, you know, you're gonna go crazy high end, right? Like, that's what everyone does. It's riverfront property, right? Everyone does that." And so I thought, you know, at the start, yeah, you know, everyone's right. You know, I'm just gonna build these huge monster, you know, crazy houses, right? And then I thought, well, why can't I build more reasonable houses for under 500,000, let's say, for riverfront property, which is so far from people's imagination.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, even like duplexes by like, what's that?
Yeah.
Lions Arena, I think it's called.
Yeah, that one's 800 and some. Anyway.
Like they're in the 800,000s.
Yeah, and they're not new. Anyway, but it got me thinking, first of all, building high end, it might sound like, oh, glorious, but really all you do is spend a bunch more money, and then you maybe get that money back. It's not like you make any more profit. You don't.
So you almost feel like part of this is also like you feel like you can hedge the bet that you made on the land by building that something that's a little bit more economical, like it'll likely sell.
Well,
like
could you imagine for 2 blocks from the Weir riverfront properties for $499?
So again, this plays into the volume game.
It's like, how can't those?
And people are giving you a hard time because they're like, you're squandering the land by not building something that's massive and then jacking up the margins.
Sure, but even it's even like a principle thing. It ties me in too. It's like, I way rather like building houses. Some regular family, I mean, let's be honest, it'd have to be medium upper class family still. But it doesn't have to be some crazy rich person that can afford to live in the riverfront in a brand new house. That's exciting for me, you know, like it's not just about, oh, let's just make as much money as we can, you know, really quick and move out of here, but it's that too, you know, that's important to me. So then that's what I'm doing there. And it's like, it's exciting because, again, the cattle mentality, oh, everyone else has done it this way. Okay, well, why can't we do it this way instead?
So I
never thought of that.
Are you planning on just building something and hoping the right buyers are going to come, or are you looking for buyers?
No, it always starts that way. Yeah, it always starts, every one of my projects always starts, you know, no buyers, and it's an idea that I have, and history's showed me that the buyers...
You have an intuition that...
Well, I don't know. Maybe not this time. We'll see. But, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say for sure, but...
So let's say one of our hundreds of thousands of viewers and listeners decides that they want to get in on this action.
Get in while they can, you mean?
Yes. Are you...
Because they're not going to last long.
Are you the kind of guy that like will take on like basically a buyer and say, yeah, I'll let you give your input on what you want?
Oh yeah, like obviously the earlier they come. I mean, I'm limited by lot and house width. There's certain limitations, but within that, I often am you know, the earlier they come on, the more input. I'm building a house right now in just on McPherson, right by the river. That lot that you looked at.
Yeah.
And these
You're
people
building
are,
that?
Yeah.
Nice.
And these people are putting a full solar system on their roof and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And you know, it's fun to be able to work with people that way too. But
So I have a phrase for this type of like mentality. You mentioned like we're at the end of a wave, but you noticed at the beginning like everybody was building the duplexes. You switched. And so I've kind of coined this thing as the Kansas City Shuffle. It's from that movie Lucky Number 11. It's like the intro scene. And it's just like, this is Bruce Willis. He's like, the guy's like, what's the Kansas City Shuffle? And it's like, when everybody's looking left, you go right. And I was like, I've kind of coined that. Like, I've been using that for like my own business. And like everybody.
Bruce Willis, Matt Rapp.
Yes, Michael Scott. I've kind of found in my own industry, it's like as a photographer, it's like if everybody starts to do one thing really heavily, it's really hard to, maybe it's like a noise thing, like everybody's in the same space. And so for now, let's say Instagram's a huge place to market yourself as a photographer, but it's like so saturated with people doing that. And they're not bad photographers, like they're a lot of good photographers, but it's just like, my voice gets lost in there and the effort is so high. And so I've been doing this thing where like, now I'm just like, okay, I'm going to vlog for my business and I'll put them on Facebook. And I don't know, like, is it working or not? I don't know. I feel like it's this long play, but in the past I've done, like history's shown me in the past, if everybody's going right, I go left. If I do that, then I've found like niches of success where it's just like, it's not quite apparent how the benefit is going to be, but somehow it does.
Yeah. It's exactly this. And it's funny how all these principles are exactly the same no matter which industry. Like I'm in home building, you're in photography. That principle is exactly the same. It's the whole reason why the noise is building where everyone's buying up as much infill land right now as possible. All these builders are propping up.
The cattle.
Doing versions of what I'm doing. Is my product a little better? Sure. At the end of the day, we're all building houses, right? I can't lie about that. So as the noise builds, I'm drawn away from that area, you know, like I'm less interested in, you know, do I want to compete with 1,000 people over here? Because I can tell you what's going to happen next. You know, 20, 50 houses are going to go up at once in infill. And then what happens? Simple supply and demand there, you know. There's a next step. Now, I'm not saying the sky is going to fall and like no one, you know, the market's going to fall apart, but it loses its profitable, what it was for the last 30 houses I built, you know, like it's going to lose that appeal because, I mean, I came from a time when every unit pre-sold. Buyers are just lining up. Now, 50 units in the market. Now they have just hordes of choice. Well, now then you get the price reductions happening.
Race to the bottom.
Yeah, there's something about, there's magic when there's no apparent value yet, and you're just sort of doing things for the sake of doing them because they quench your desire for something new and to challenge yourself and to hopefully build something. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think that's, sorry?
Like, yeah, I was going to even use the word intuition. Like, you have it. I do believe everybody has a version of it, but like, to follow it takes a little bit
Courage.
of faith.
And it takes principle. It's like you can't go back on it because this is what I've been preaching since day one, and this is just, it didn't, like I knew that this was going to end up this way years ago already. I was like, this is what's going to happen. People are going to start lining up like cattle. I thought it was going to happen already a year ago, but you know, we're here now. And again, like sky's not going to fall, but it's interesting watching it all happen. And I'm excited because like now something new maybe. Who knows? You know. So we'll see.
This is a good place. This is a good place to finish.
Yeah.
This was great.
Well, thanks so much for coming and chatting.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Do we have how do we end this?
Oh yeah, where can people find your company?
Well, there's not enough time to go into that, but you can't find me. I don't have a website. I don't have a
But he's got
Facebook.
He's got a cell phone.
Yeah, but I don't really.
You're Mr. Word of Mouth here.
Word of mouth.
Yeah,
I've got lots of kids, and
How do I say
I don't
your
have
last
time
name?
to.
Machnee?
Machnee Developments. But
Why am I saying Machnee? I read it wrong on my calendar when you booked it, the spot. And I was like, McAndrew Machnee.
Anyway, check out Spadina in the next month.
How
Four
long?
hot listings.
How long do your listings stay on the market for?
The lucky ones get in quick, but
Like your stuff doesn't last. It doesn't sit on the market.
well, like I said, all my units have pre-sold virtually. I'm not going to say every one of them, but I think maybe two have made it to completion.
But again, one more time, you have 4 riverfront properties that are in development right now.
You know, I feel bad. They're so cheap, but you know what? I'm going to go through with it. Someone's going to be lucky.
Oh man, thanks again.
Yeah.
This was fun. Cool.
Yeah.